Hi, welcome to Trading Without Fear. Every trader goes through a period of losing streaks, and every trader will actually be fearful of their patterns or their edge, or even fearful of the outcome of each trade. So in this episode, I'm going to be discussing a little bit more of how to overcome losing streaks, what I did to overcome my losing streak, and what's going to be going forward with the $130 challenge. So to go up front, the $130 challenge, I went from $130 to $428.58. And after a while, I ended up just kind of bleeding the account slowly over time. There's a couple of different reasons why I think that happens. I think that actually happened because I put too much emphasis on the $400 mark. I told myself, and I even said in a couple of videos, that if I was to get over $400, then I could actually divide the account up, so I'll have at least one day trade a day, and started off with $200 each day. And as I started approaching that level, the expectations that I placed on that was possibly too great. So as soon as I got over the $400, I was expecting to get more money, which is part of the greed aspect. And one of the problems that I have is that some of my old habits and some of the habits that I'm trying to overcome is if I get into a trade and I don't follow the rules and I don't actually follow my system, I may end up holding on to a trade for a longer period of time and try to turn a losing trade into a winning trade. So that's exactly what happened in July. I ended up buying DRNG, and even before I got into DRNG, what ended up happening was I was fearful of the outcome of the trade. It was an OTC trade. I hadn't traded OTCs for a long time. And so when I bought into it, I was automatically fearful of the outcome of potentially losing an additional $10 on top of the money that I was already putting up on there. So that tripped me into the state of mind of fear. And you don't ever want to get into a trade out of a fear mindset. So I ended up actually holding on to that, and I did end up taking a small profit. So bringing up this, bought it somewhere on around this date, DRNG. The first time I bought it on the 15th, so I bought it up here on a Thursday, and I held it through the 16th, 17th, and sold it on the 19th. So it was only a couple of days, but I did end up taking a small profit. My initial plan was to take 15% on the day, and it did give me an opportunity to take the 15%, but because I already went into the trade out of a fear mindset, when it started approaching or even got to my price target, I ended up wanting more out of the trade, so I never sold it. So I ended up having to hold on to it for several days. And then it ended up working out, came back up, and then buying into DRNG again on the 23rd. On the same day, I ended up buying it again on the 19th and held it all the way through the 23rd. I ended up taking it off. Now, it did end up working again. The reason why I took it off was because it didn't actually, I started noticing that my discipline was slipping, my plans was slipping. I was going from an average of 2 to 3 trades a week to down to 1 trade a week because I was holding on to trades for far too long. And I was seeing other opportunities in the market that was consistently working. So I decided to cut it so that way I can actually get out of the habit, which then bought into XDIO. And because I already took a loss and I was trying to actually maintain discipline, my fear again was losing more money. So I ended up losing $105.98 on that trade. So from July, I carried over the losing streak all throughout August. So August has been a terrible month, especially for the $130 challenge. I lost $189.09. And in July, I was only up $28. So from that, you can see of how the account's actually gone pretty low. So some of the ways that I actually overcame this was I do keep a trading workbook. It's something that Paula T. Webb and Mark Douglas actually recommends. So a trading workbook is not a diary. What it is, it's actually a mental representation of how you feel during each trade. So after you get into a trade, what you're going to be doing is every thought and every urge that you may have. So if you actually use bracket orders like I do, if you're actually using a different trading system or using mental stops, or you have a certain price target in mind that you're looking to aim for, while the trade's actually working out, what you're going to be doing is writing down every thought that comes to your mind, such as, the stock started going up, I was up, 3%, it started pulling back, I was afraid that it wasn't going to be working out anymore. So I ended up cutting the trade, and by the end of the day, or within a couple of minutes or a couple of hours, it ended up working, but it never actually violated mine. Those are kind of things to do, and you want to have it as detailed as possible. And it's a really good way to actually also identify any change in mental state of mind. So as you're trading, You can review it, once a week, and see if you're actually starting to change your mindset of how you're actually trading. Are you starting to slip into old habits? So traditionally, I'll actually review my trading workbook along with my trades once a week. But for the past several weeks, I've actually been extremely busy. So I've been kind of slacking on that. And I did notice the correlation between the times where I started getting busy, which was right here around the week of the 13th. This whole time I started getting really busy, and that translated over into August. I've been really busy in August as well. And so the busyness was actually kind of contributing to the lack of discipline. It's not anything to do with the strategy, because if I was following my strategy correctly, I can still go out and do what I need to do and be okay with trades, and whatever happens, happens. But what ended up happening is I became complacent in the trades, and because I was so busy, I started tripping to a state of mind that complacency was the best option. I'll go for swing trading instead of actually day trading, or on average just one overnight hold versus actually hold on for multiple days. So I went from trading style that I'm comfortable with to a trading style that I'm not, which compounded the losses. Another thing that I actually did to overcome a losing streak was meditations. Meditations also help with the clarity of mind and try to understand, helps with the clarity of mind and kind of release emotional feelings and kind of address some of the emotional feelings that you're having. And one of the big things was actually reviewing stocks that both that I traded and compared them to the stocks that I have not traded. So I started doing that a couple of days ago, where I was reviewing the stocks that I took versus the stocks that was actually available in the market. And one of the things that I started recognizing was, over time, the patterns that I normally trade, I started avoiding them. For whatever reason, the A plus setups, so the trades that I'd actually be able to recognize in the market, I would actually choose to trade something else. So random trading, in my opinion, was a reflection of how I felt at the time, as far as emotional state of mind, being busy, with my life being really kind of chaotic as far as like what was going on. And I think that the reflection of being busy was also reflecting into my trading. By reviewing the trades that I took and compared them to trades that I did not take, I quickly realized that the trading setups that I was taking did not actually fit my pattern. So I started becoming a little bit more aware of that and started trying to get back into discipline. Ways to get over a losing streak are to actually review your trades, keep your trading workbook so that way you can actually see if there's any mental shift in your behavior or the way you're actually thinking about certain things. Are you becoming fearful of the market? When you're going back and reviewing your trades, also review the screenshots that you've been taking. You compare those to the ones that you haven't been taking as far as the trades that you actually traded, and compare those to the ones that you haven't been trading. And that way you can try to identify, are you starting to trade random trades, or are you starting to trade trades that are not within your strategy or your pattern that you actually trade? And if you are trading patterns that you normally trade, what's the difference? Are you not cutting your losses quickly enough? If you do find that you're actually trading patterns that you normally trade, start to look at little other nuances. What's the volume of the day? Are you not cutting your losses where you should be? Are you not giving enough time to run? Are you also trading a plan that you're also not following, but it does actually work out in the end? So that's also another thing, is where I was trading stocks that I had a specific trade plan on, and because of how long it took for that trade plan to work, I ended up not willing to actually wait for it to work. So a good example of that is FULC. You can see here that I ended up buying it at 24.27, and my plan was to actually sell it at 29.10. And so I held on to it for 1, 2, 3 days, and it ended up taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days to get there. So nearly a week. So the reason why I also sold this one, even though it did work out in the end, was that complacency that I was talking about. I started going from a day trader to a swing trader, which I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with swing trading. It's just more in lines of that at this point is not the style that I actually want to be trading. I want to be taking more consistent profits on the day. And as my account grows, I can identify swing trades immediately. I can actually use swing trades as a way to actually kind of fill in the gaps when things are slower. But as of right now, I do want to focus on taking profits more consistently, either every day or as frequently as I can. If you're getting into a trade that you're, let's say, a swing trader or a day trader, and you're not giving it the time to work to actually take the profits based off of your, if you're actually not giving the trade enough time to work, and you're actually cutting your profits too early, that's something that you'll also be able to identify by looking through the trades that you've tracked and comparing the two together to determine whether or not you're actually allowing your edge to develop properly. Now, one of the great things is as we're recording this, you can see that NURO is still kind of trending upwards, and I'm not too worried about that. I do work off of probabilities and patterns. So some of the probabilities I've been tracking this month say that there's a higher chance of it going up to a 25.17%. And because I'm trying to go back into maintaining discipline and going back to the strategy, that's another thing with being consistent and your profit targets. It actually helps to develop confidence in the way that you trade. If you're trying to take 10% from a move one day and then the next day you're trying to take 50% or 40% or whatever the case is, because the stock that you're in has, you think has a potential to actually do that, it's going to start to cause that randomness in your trading again. So what I try to do is stick to very rigid type of profit and loss targets. And so that way on this trade, I am more of a 20%, which it worked out beautifully. And so even though here it says 25.17, if you watch in my other videos, I normally will round down to, whatever number it is. So in this case, I thought there was a good chance of it actually going to 20 versus 25. And what I also started doing was trying to break down my data into a little bit easier way to actually quickly glance at it and see what was going on. I still have to fix these OTC breakout patterns and OTC ABCD patterns. For some reason, I don't think it's counting it. I'm going to have to go through it individually and manually and count each one and try to compare them to see if the numbers are accurate. I have to do the same thing with up here as well. But what I started noticing was that the 15 to 20%, which is this one right here, on this chart, it's actually going through this. So it's going to be calculating from 15 to 19.999, which is basically 15 to 20. Has a higher percent of actually reaching that, and the next step is actually 20 to 30. And because the data here is showing 25, what I want to do is go with the highest probability, so I'll go for 20. Now I could actually go in between the two and go to 25. That would be in between the 20 and 30 mark, but I'm definitely okay with it taking 20% over time. As the data comes in, I'll start to go based off that, as far as possibly taking 25% versus just the 20%, but it's only 5% difference, so it's not a big deal. So in this position, I only had $118, and out of $118, I took a $23.76 move, for $23.76 profit from that move from the 20%, and it looks like it's starting to get a little bit weaker now. So that's it for this video. Leave a comment below. Have you ever experienced a losing streak yourself? And what did you do to overcome that losing streak? If you like this content, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for any new notifications, and give me a big thumbs up. And we'll see you next time.